Hello everyone, I am Srinivas. In this presentation, I am going to explain about the experiment 11 implementation of K-means clustering in customer classification. In customer segmentation is a powerful technique used in marketing and research analytics. It helps companies group customers based on their similarities so they can design better strategies for sales, promotions, and customer engagement. Let's get into the program. Now we are going to import the necessary library files that include Pandas, NumPy, Matplotlib, and Seaborn. Then cluster to is the main file to implement the K-means algorithm, and then pre-processing for normalization and metrics to implement the sellout score and warnings to filter the warnings. Then we are going to load the dataset from CSV file mallcustomers.csv. From that we are going to change into data frame, and then we are print the shape of the data frame, and then the first 5 columns we are going to display it. Then we are going to print the missing values. Then we are going to assign the x values. X value include the features of the dataset which is annual income and spending score. Here let's print the features. Then we are going to implement the normalization using the constructor called StandardScaler, and we are going to transform the values of x into x scaled. Then we are going to initialize a empty set inertia. Then k range which is range from 0 1 to 10. Then we are going to implement the for loop for k-means algorithm. First we are going to call the k-means class with the n clusters parameter. Here we are giving the k value in the for loop. Then we are going to fit the values which is then values of x. Then we are going to append the inertia value in the empty inertia list. We are going to plot the calculated values using the plt.figure of. Here we are giving the figure size 6,4. Then we are going to plot the k range value and inertia and x label, y label. Then we are going to give the title for the plot. Then we are going to show the plot. Then we are going to find the sellout scores. Here we are going to give an empty list. Then k range value from 2 to 11. Then we are going to call the k-means class. We are going to call the sellout score class, which will return the sellout scores for the scaled values. Then we are going to append the sellout values in the sell scores list. Then we are going to plot the figure for the sellout scores. Going to give plt.figure, then plt.plot to plot the sellout scores. Marker color is equal to orange. X label, y label, we are going to give the title for the graph. Then we are going to apply the k-means algorithm. Here we are choosing k is equal to 5. Then we are implementing the k-means algorithm by calling constructor call for k-means class. Then we are going to fit the scaled values so that we can find the predicted constructor labels. Then we are going to assign the cluster labels to the data frame with a new column called cluster. Then we are going to print the cluster counts. Then we are going to find the cluster centers in original units. First we are going to find the center scaled, then the centers original. For finding the centers original, we use inverse underscore transform for the center scaled value. Then we are going to find the data frame for the centers original. So we contain a new column called cluster. We are going to display the cluster centers value. After finding the clusters, we are going to visualize it. So we use a so that we are going to plot a figure. Then we use Seaborn to plot the scatter plot of the X label annual income and Y label spending score. After that we are going to plot the scatter plot using Matplotlib for the annual income and spending score. Then we are giving the title, legend and grid and show off. So the program part is get finished. Then we are going to find the output. Here the output comes in the form of data frame. First the shape data frame is displayed, then the total values are displayed, then the column count is displayed, then the missing values in every column is displayed, then the plots we made are displaying. First is elbow method, then for the silhouette method, then the cluster counts, then the original values of the cluster centers, then customer segmentation for the KMeans algorithm. So this is the overall program and output. So we implemented KMeans clustering, and we prepared the data, standardized it, and determined the optimal number of clusters. And using the elbow method and silhouette score, we applied KMeans algorithm and analyzed the results. And this visualization shows 5 distinct customer groups based on the income and spending behavior. So this is the overall KMeans algorithm. Thank you.